Hi, year 12. Well, I know that things are changing quickly and you probably have a lot of questions. You may have some questions. We have our video call today at 2:05 p.m. I really hope everybody will be on that call. Um, if you can't be on the call for some reason, please let me know and we can try to schedule another one for you. Now, that said, because you're going to have an assessment in 2 weeks that is on personal and creative writing, what we had been working on until very recently, we're going to jump back to that and focus on that uh, even further. Okay, and that means we're leaving the unit 4 reading tasks for now. Okay, we looked at the first reading task where we're comparing literary text. We're going to leave that behind, jump back to the personal and creative writing. You've done 2 practice standardized assessments on this, or you should have done. Okay, if you haven't done those, you can go back and do them. They're the standardized writing assessments with the stars in your classwork tab. Okay, but keep it moving. Um, we are going to work today in your workbook on pages 72 to 74. Okay, and you can upload the work here when you're finished. Okay, I'm just going to move this up to the top. Okay, and here we are at the top of page 72. And the focus in these pages is to improve our sentences. Okay, remember that you will be assessed on the structuring. Okay, so that's important. And your variety of sentences is important. Okay, your control over sentence types. Okay, so and sentence lengths. So we're going to have a look at that. Okay. Also, your writing should be grammatically accurate and you're avoiding common errors. Okay, to the best of your ability. So, what do you need to do? You need to ensure that you begin sentences in different ways. Too many students rely on subject, verb. Okay, for example, he did this, she did that, it did this. Okay, and that gets, as it says here, predictable and boring. So you should use a range of simple, compound, and complex sentences. And if you don't know what those mean, don't worry because you'll recognize them as we go through this. Okay, and if possible, use sentences to achieve effects. Okay, we'll talk about what that means. You can vary sentence length, okay, or change it up to emphasize ideas or emotions and to create atmosphere. Okay, so let's just have a look at this activity 1, part 1. I'm going to be making my notes down here at the bottom. Okay, and I'm going to write sample sentences. Obviously, you should not be turning in the same sentences I write. Okay, so do your own version, but hopefully this will help you to hear just a little bit of brainstorming about how to take on each one. Okay, write a short paragraph of 4 simple sentences. Okay, keywords there, simple sentences. To convey or get across, okay, communicate the emotions of someone who has just heard a knock at the door in the middle of the night. Okay, a simple sentence has just one verb and one clause. Clause is a part of a sentence that contains a subject and a verb and maybe could stand by itself as a sentence. Okay, so let's just have a look at some examples. Now, you could say simple sentences like, uh, he heard the knock. He was frightened. Then he was curious. Then he was angry. Okay, now my point here is this is boring writing. Okay, so when it says convey, oops, move myself out of the way here. Okay, when when it says convey the emotions, okay, I want to bring you back to this idea of show don't tell. Okay, so let's give him a name. Henry, not sure why, but that's coming to mind. Henry Jumped. No, he wouldn't jump. Uh, Shook. Started. Okay. Start is when you sort of jump, but not with your feet. Okay, so started awake upon hearing the, what would the knock have been like? The knocking. A hard knocking. Okay, now how can I show that he was afraid? Okay, now, sorry, just going back to the instructions here. Okay, he started. That's what he did. So that's your verb, and he's the subject. Okay, and this is just one subject, one verb. Okay, and the rest of this, upon hearing the hard knocking, just tells when. Okay, that's called a prepositional phrase. Okay, but you don't need to know that. You just need to know there's nobody else doing any other actions in this sentence, and Henry's not doing another action. There's just one. Okay, so that makes this a simple sentence. Okay, this is the main part of the sentence, and that's really all there is. Okay, I'm not adding an intro part or an in between part. Okay, I'm not putting an additional part. Okay, it's just the main part of the sentence. Okay, how can I show that he was frightened? Okay, what would have happened? He realized his fingers were gripping. Realized he was gripping fistfuls of bed sheet. Okay, now I had another. That's another verb, another action, and loosened his grip. Okay, it's true that there's more than one verb there, but it's just Henry doing it. Okay, he was gripping and loosened. Okay, that's all. It's still a simple sentence. Okay, because I'm not introducing a new person or Henry again doing the action. Okay, so but I could just leave it there. Okay, to keep it simple. He realized he was gripping fistfuls of bed sheet. What else was happening? Heartbeats hammered heavily in his chest. Another way to say it there. Okay, but I'm trying to incorporate a little bit of alliteration there. Heartbeats hammered heavily. Okay. Now, the action here is the hammering. Okay, and the heartbeats are the subject. They're doing the hammering. Okay, and there's no other. So these are simple sentences. Okay, I hope I'm making this clear. And then um, I'm going to state this more directly. Anger, but maybe with a little bit of a language technique. Washed over him. Anger then washed over him like a wave. Okay. Now I want to say why, so I'm going to add a fifth sentence there, even though I was supposed to do just four. Who would be hanging on his door at this hour? Okay. Now, the reason we've been asked to write four simple sentences here is because it's typically a tense thing to be awoken in the middle of the night to hear somebody at the door. Okay. It could be bad news, it could be danger. Okay. So these short sentences end in full stops, and the full stops make us pause. And the pauses add drama. They give the reader time to think about what's happening. It slows things down. Okay, so that's the effect of short sentences often, is to make things dramatic, to slow down the action, okay, and to drive home clear, simple thoughts. Okay. When you get into longer sentences, they're better for description and for communicating complicated ideas. Okay, so let's move on to the next activity. Okay, number two. So again, you're going to do your own version of this. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that first one because the second one is better. Okay, now write two compound sentences to describe a busy supermarket. Compound sentences are made up of simple sentences linked by and, but, etc. Okay, now I can quickly show you what that is by doing it right here. Henry started awake upon hearing the hard knocking, and he realized he was gripping fistfuls of bedsheet. Okay, I've joined two independent clauses, okay, with a comma conjunction or comma and. Okay, and that's how you make a compound. Okay, in science, a compound is, I'm not going to have the right word here, but something that is made up of multiple elements. Okay, and so a compound is made up of multiple elements. Similarly, a compound sentence is made up of multiple clauses, independent clauses. Okay, so that's just an example. I'll leave those as simple sentences. And I'll go on here and say, okay, two compound sentences to describe a busy supermarket. Okay, now my first thought is, I've recently been in Marks and Spencer, okay, and I'm going to use a specific experience of my own to help give me details, okay, that will make this sentence come to life a little more. If I'm not thinking about a specific sentence of my own, then my details um, will not be there to the same degree, probably. Okay, so busy supermarket. Do you know what I remember at Marks and Spencer? It's all the people crowding around the dine-in for two cabinet or shelf at the end of the refrigerated row, and everybody's sort of angling in for space, and um, that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to use myself. I'm going to use the first person narrative. So I searched for, I'm going to use a better word than search. I scanned for an opening, but the my competitors were too fast, too quick, and too bold. Okay. Now, I'm being deliberately vague there to sort of add a little mystery. Okay. And now I'm going to make it clear in my second compound sentences. Okay. In my second compound sentence, what's actually happening. Okay. I scanned for an opening is a sentence by itself. Okay. An independent clause. My competitors were, whoop, hopefully you caught that, too quick and too bold. Okay. That stands by itself, and then I'm adding comma conjunction to join them together. Okay, that makes it a compound sentence. Now, I scanned for an opening, but my competitors were too quick and too bold. Um, it seemed that if I wanted to bring home a dine in for two dinner from Marks and Spencer. I ooh. Now I have set this up to be a different sort of sentence, so I'm going to simplify it so that it's clear. I wanted to bring home a dine-in for two dinner from Marks and Spencer, but oh boy, what am I doing? Okay. But doing so become more aggressive and to ignore the rules of social distancing. I'll make it a little more clear. I scanned for an opening to the shelves, keeping my desired prize. Again, being a little deliberately vague, okay, in order to spark a little mystery in the sentence, but my competitors were too quick and too bold. Um, what I really want to say here, I'm going to add a short sentence just to add a little bit of punch. They circled and nipped in like vultures around a carcass. Okay, now that is a simile, clearly. Okay, like, okay, these people were like vultures around a carcass. Okay, so I'm comparing the people to vultures. I'm comparing the food to a carcass. Okay, not a lovely image, but that's consistent with the idea. It was an unpleasant experience. Okay, so that's what I'm trying to get across. Now, I have my two compound sentences. Okay, and then I've added one simple sentence in between just to emphasize. Okay, this is not strict. It's about practicing your control of sentence structure. So I wanted to bring home a dine-in for two from Marks and Spencer. That's a sentence that stands by itself. Okay, doing so would require me to become more aggressive and to ignore the rules of social distancing. That stands by itself. Okay, and this is a simple sentence, even though there are two verbs, it's one subject. Okay, but don't worry about that. The idea is you're getting some basic tools for how do I make sure that I'm not doing the same type of sentence every time. Okay, and I've joined them here with a comma conjunction and then a full stop. You want to make sure you're not linking too many clauses together with comma conjunction though. So if I add another comma and this, da, 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 and that, da, 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 da. Now I'm getting into a run-on sentence, okay? So two, maybe three clauses, but I wouldn't go longer than that, okay? Now let's go on to the next activity, and here it is. Write a complex sentence that presents the thoughts of a man who is about to make a dramatic confession to his wife. Okay, now a complex sentence, okay, is just like what we did, a compound, okay? But instead of two independent clauses, one of them is dependent. It can't stand by itself, okay? And so I'll show you what that looks like, okay? Even though you already know this from experience. Okay, so if I say to you, when he collected his thoughts. Okay? When he tried. Is that a complete thought? If somebody said to you, when he tried to collect his thoughts, is that a complete thought? No, you're leaning in. You're saying, yes, yes. What happened when he tried to collect his thoughts? But it does have a subject and it does have a verb, an action, the trying. Okay. So it's this word when that makes it unable to stand on its own. Okay. If I said to you, he tried to collect his thoughts, you would say, oh, okay. That's a complete thought. Okay. But when we add the word when, it means that we need more. Okay. So when he tried to collect his thoughts, what happened? Okay. They, I want to say that they ran away, but I want to say it in a more dramatic way. They they became fugitives. Okay. Now that's a metaphor. I'm comparing his thoughts to people who are running away from the police. Okay. They became fugitives from the awful reality that he was he needed to tell his wife, his best friend. Okay. So, in other words, what I'm trying to get across in this sentence is that he's trying to think of what to say, but his thoughts just, he can't capture his thoughts because of this, the awfulness of what he has to say. Okay. Now, who knows what it is? Okay. I haven't said. He's got to make some kind of dramatic. Okay. But the idea here is we've got a dependent clause that can't stand by itself as a sentence. It's dependent on this clause, which is independent and can stand by itself. So when you join a dependent and an independent, okay, then you have a complex sentence. Okay, two independent and you get a compound. But don't worry about the terminology. Just look at these types of sentences. Okay, you know how to write sentences like this, every one of you. Okay, so it's about just trying to use these introductory parts to sentences before you get to the main part. Okay, hopefully that makes more sense if you're feeling confused by that. Okay, so these sentences, the compound, are two main parts joined together. Okay, here you have an intro part and then a main part. Okay, and that helps to mix up the variety of your sentences. Okay, let's go on to part 4. Write a short paragraph describing the inner thoughts and feelings of one of the two characters. Include a variety of sentence types. I'm not going to do this because you've just seen how to build the different sentence types. Now your chance to practice is here. Okay, so you write your paragraph there. Now, here you're being asked, I'm going to skip 4. Use what you've learned of, and go on to 5. Now, write a short paragraph about someone waking up to discover a burglar downstairs. Begin with a short sentence. Hopefully, this has never happened to you. Okay. Then use a long sentence as they prepare to confront the thief, and then another short sentence to create a tense climax. Okay, so start with a short sentence, use a long sentence to as they prepare. So this is describing what's happening as they get ready to confront the thief, and then a short sentence to create a tense climax. Okay, sort of punchy. What happens? Okay. I remember a story that will maybe help me with this. My dad woke up in the middle of the night, looked out to a little window with a little balcony on the second floor of a house, and there was somebody, a shadow of somebody there on the balcony, and he got ready. He crouched down slowly, got out of bed, crouched down, moved very slowly, and prepared himself to just run at this person and knock them right off the balcony. That's what he had decided he was going to do. He took a deep breath and charged. And as he did that, my mother, who was getting a breath of air out on the balcony, screamed, "No, Mike, stop." Okay. So I might find some way to take that idea. Okay. Now, maybe the burglar is downstairs. Maybe they have some other idea about how to run at them. But I'm going to take that idea and use it as my inspiration because it'll give me some details and it'll give me some excitement and drama. Okay, and then I'll just maybe craft it into a few short sentences. Okay, if those ideas help you to think of what you might write, then go for it. Okay, but again, the key is to try short sentence. He woke and saw a shadow on the balcony. Okay, or he woke and heard the creaking on the he woke and heard creaking on the downstairs floorboards. Okay, he took a deep breath, comma. Okay, that's a short sentence. I'm going to maybe start with an intro part. Okay, taking a deep breath. It doesn't stand by itself. Who was taking? Okay, he slid stealthily from the sheets and steeled himself. Okay, in other words, made himself like steel to surprise. This SSS sound is not accidental. Slid stealthily from the sheets and steeled himself to surprise. Okay, I'm using that alliteration to try to show the softness, the quietness, the shh. Okay, to surprise the what do we call somebody who's breaks into a house with an S? The okay, the invader below. Now I need one short sentence to create a tense climax here. Okay. Reached behind the bed for the hurl. Isn't that what you call from hurling or maybe the hockey stick? Just say for his hockey stick to keep it short. He reached behind the bed for his hockey stick. Okay, now that I think adds drama because it creates tension because you realize he's going to be trying to hit somebody with a heavy blunt object, okay, which suggests drama, okay? So that's 5, okay? That's my version. You do your own. Okay, now write a short paragraph that opens with a brief question as a character experiences regret, okay? So regret is the emotion that's going to be driving this. Then follow up with a long sentence as they develop their reflection. Okay, so for lack of a better example, I'm going to think about recently we had an electrician in, and I came up to find a hole left in the ceiling from the work that they did. Our electrician have filled that in the ceiling. Sorry, not particularly interesting. Okay, but now I'm going to go on just as an example anyway. You can do your own more interesting example. A long sentence to develop their reflection. Um, he, the, okay, he standing in the upstairs hallway. Okay, so again, an intro part to add a little bit of interest to the sentence. Standing in the upstairs hallway, he was frozen for several long moments as he interrogated himself about whether he should confront the electrician or just let it slide to avoid. Okay, so you've got a longer sentence. There's an intro part, a main part, okay, and then this extends it, okay, as he interrogated himself about whether he should confront the electrician. This is more information about this part, but it's not, because you've got this word as here, it's not its own independent clause, okay? So you can tell I'm just extending that sentence with this last piece. Now, last part here, okay, is number 7, okay? Write a short paragraph that involves a character discovering an unfamiliar setting, okay? Include a rhetorical question, an ellipsis, okay? You know what a rhetorical question is, okay? An ellipsis is the ... used to show the passing of time or a long pause. Okay, a one-word exclamatory sentence, so like no, okay, or yes, or stop, okay, or bicycles, okay, whatever the case may be. Okay, and then a semicolon. Now, with the compound sentences up here, just coming back on the semicolon, um, with the compound sentences, instead of joining them together with a comma and a conjunction like and, but, or, you can join them together with just a semicolon instead. Okay, take out the comma but and put in a semicolon. I scanned for an opening to the shelves, keeping my desired prize. My competitors were too quick and too bold. Okay, so that's how you use a semicolon. Okay, give that a try. Okay, and it says end on a short, simple sentence. They're really reminding you that that's a good way to have a punchy ending that drives home your point in a simple, direct way. Okay, now finally, the tip at the bottom: remember to write in a way that engages your reader. Aim to include vivid description, use a variety of punctuation, and use a range of sentence types to enhance your writing. That's in general for this type of assessment. This is the takeaway. Okay, I hope that's helpful. I hope it guides you through this task, and I hope you have a great day.